Hello and welcome back to another episode of Courts This Week, your go-to source for the latest legal updates presented by Live Law. I'm your host, Ostika Das. I'm an advocate practicing in Delhi, and I'm here to take you through and break down the most significant updates from the week. From the corridors of the Supreme Court to local judicial proceedings, I'll be providing you with clear and concise summaries that keep you informed and ahead of the curve. But remember, for a more in-depth understanding, do visit LiveLaw's website at www.livelaw.in. Let's get started. The Supreme Court this week rolled back part of its controversial August 11 order that had directed stray dogs in Delhi NCR to be picked up and kept in shelters without release. That earlier ruling, prompted by alarming reports of alleged dog bite incidents and rabies deaths, was welcomed by some citizens worried about vulnerable groups like children and the elderly. But it also provoked outrage nationwide. Animal welfare groups and citizens called the order cruel and unworkable, pointing to Delhi NCR's lack of adequate shelter infrastructure. Responding to this backlash, a three-judge bench led by Justice Vikram Nath has now clarified that the no-release rule was too harsh, stressing, and I quote, a blanket direction to pick up all strays and place them in shelters without evaluating existing infrastructure may lead to a catch-22 situation because such directions may be impossible to comply with. The court instead held that sterilized, dewormed, and vaccinated dogs must be returned to their original localities, except in cases of rabid, suspected rabid, or overtly aggressive dogs, which must be housed separately after treatment. Alongside this, the court has issued a set of strict directions. These include a directive to municipal authorities to create dedicated feeding zones in every ward, accompanied by a categorical prohibition on public feeding outside of such dedicated zones. Animal lovers and NGOs who intervened in the case have also been directed to deposit sums of Rs 25,000 and Rs 2 lakh respectively with the court, failing which they will not be allowed to participate further. These funds are to be used exclusively for creating stray dog infrastructure. Significantly, the court has now expanded the matter nationwide, ordering the impleadment of every state and union territory in the proceedings and transferring to itself all similar cases pending before various high courts. In the Bihar Special Intensive Revision matter, the Supreme Court this week allowed excluded voters to apply for inclusion in the electoral rolls online without having to physically submit forms. A bench of Justices Suryakant and Joymalya Bagchi also clarified that an Aadhaar card or any of the 11 documents specified by the Election Commission would be valid proof for claims. The bench had earlier, on August 14th, also directed the Election Commission to publish online the district-wise list of around 65 lakh excluded voters, along with reasons for deletion, such as death, migration, or duplication, and to give wide publicity that Aadhaar too can be furnished as valid proof. The court said that this transparency would improve voter confidence and ensure citizens could easily check their own status. When the matter was taken up this week, the Election Commission informed the court that the lists and reasons had already been uploaded on district websites and shared with political parties. Petitioners' counsel, however, argued that the process remained deeply flawed, pointing to alleged mass exclusions of genuine voters, particularly migrant workers. The bench expressed surprise that despite the presence of 1.6 lakh booth-level agents across the state, only 2 objections had been received. Some parties explained that booth-level officers were refusing to accept objections or issue receipts, a concern that court proceeded to address by directing BLOs to acknowledge the receipt wherever physical forms are submitted. In a further step, the court impleaded all 12 recognized political parties in Bihar as respondents and directed them to ensure that their booth-level agents actively assist voters in filling claims for inclusion. A PIL filed this week in the Supreme Court has challenged the union government's mandatory ethanol blending program, which requires 20% ethanol or E20 petrol at all pumps. Advocate Akshay Malhotra, the petitioner, argues that consumers must be given the option to purchase ethanol-free petrol E0, as millions of vehicles on Indian roads are not compatible with E20. The plea highlights that petrol buyers are not informed that they are purchasing blended fuel, violating their right to an informed choice under the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It contends that ethanol damages vehicle engines, corrodes components, reduces mileage, and raises repair costs, yet petrol prices remain unchanged. With the benefit of cheaper ethanol going to oil companies rather than consumers. The petitioner emphasized that vehicles made before April 2023, including many BS6 compliant models, are not designed for E20 fuel. Even relatively new cars may only support E10. He warned that forcing all motorists to use E20 without adequate adaptation time is arbitrary and unreasonable. The PIL seeks several directions: to mandate the continued availability of ethanol-free petrol at all stations, to require clear labeling of ethanol content on pumps, to ensure motorists are informed about vehicle compatibility, and to commission a nationwide study on the impact of E20 on engines, efficiency and safety. Interestingly, the petition contrasts India's approach with the US and EU, where ethanol-free petrol remains available and blended fuels are clearly labeled, allowing consumer choice. In India, by contrast, motorists are kept in the dark, the plea alleges. The Supreme Court this week granted interim protection from arrest to The Wire founding editor Siddharth Varadarajan and senior journalist Karan Thapar in connection with an Assam police FIR under section 152 of the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita or BNS. The FIR concerned a report on Operation Sindoor, quoting an Indian defense attaché about the alleged constraints faced by the Air Force during a skirmish with Pakistan. A bench of Justices Suryakant and Joy Mallo Bagchi ordered that no coercive action be taken against Varadarajan, Thapar or members of the Foundation for Independent Journalism, provided they cooperate with the investigation. The case has been listed for further hearing on September 15. The journalists have argued that Section 152 of the BNS is essentially a rebranded sedition law and unconstitutional. They pointed out that their article was based on statements made at a university seminar in Indonesia, had included the Indian Embassy's response, and was reported by multiple outlets. Notably, this FIR is the second filed against The Wire in Assam. On August 12, the Supreme Court had already granted protection in a similar case filed in Morigaon. Yet, the very same day, Guwahati police issued summons to Varadarajan and Thapar in this fresh case, drawing strong criticism from media bodies, MPs and civil society for what they describe as harassment and intimidation of independent journalism. The Supreme Court this week stayed trial proceedings against Tamil Nadu Rural Development Minister I. Periyaswamy in a disproportionate assets case. A bench of Justices Dipankar Datta and A.G. Masi issued notice and ordered that no further steps be taken in special criminal case number 27 of 2014, pending before the Dindigul Special Judge for Prevention of Corruption Act cases. Periyaswamy is accused of amassing wealth worth 2.01 crore beyond his known source of income while serving as Revenue and Prisons Minister between 2006 and 2011. The Department of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption registered the case in 2012. In 2014, a trial court discharged Periyaswamy and his family, but earlier this year, the Madras High Court set aside that discharge, ordered charges to be framed and directed completion of trial within 6 months. Challenging that order, Periyaswamy argued that the DA case was politically motivated and based on faulty calculations. Senior advocates Kapil Sibal and V. Giri appeared for him in the Supreme Court, stressing that the High Court had overstepped by overturning a trial court finding at the pre-charge stage. The stay comes in the wake of similar developments. The Madras High Court recently set aside the discharge of 2 other state ministers, Durai Murugan and MRK Paneerselvam, in DA cases. The Supreme Court's intervention halts proceedings for now, but the matter will be heard further after notices are served. The Supreme Court this week upheld a Kerala High Court ruling suspending toll collection on a badly maintained stretch of National Highway 544 in Thrissur. A bench of Chief Justice B.R. Gavai and Justice K. Vinod Chandran agreed that when citizens pay toll, they acquire a corresponding right to safe and unhindered travel, and if the road is riddled with potholes and traffic snarls, that right is violated. The court described the reality in scathing terms. Motorists paying taxes and tolls yet forced to crawl for hours on dilapidated stretches, and I quote, a tragedy where the toll is not only on purse, but also on the patients and the environment. It said NHAI or concessionaires may seek lifting of the suspension once roads are restored. The court acknowledged operators' financial losses but said they must be raised before the NHAI or via extensions of concession periods. During hearings, the bench questioned why commuters should pay 150 rupees when journeys take 12 hours instead of 1. Both judges noted that they had personally faced the congestion. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta appeared for NHAI with senior advocates Shyam Diwan and Jayant Muthuraj representing the concessionaire and petitioners. The Guwahati High Court this week sharply criticized the allotment of nearly 3,000 bighas of land in Assam's Dima Hasao district to a private cement company. Justice Sanjay Kumar Medhi exclaimed in open court, and I quote, 3,000 bighas, the entire district, what is going on? Is this some kind of a joke? The land lies in a 6th schedule area where tribal interests and rights enjoy constitutional protection. The court stressed that public interest, not corporate need, must guide allotments, particularly in regions like Umrangso, an environmental hotspot with hot springs, migratory bird habitats, and wildlife. The company's counsel argued that land was barren and necessary for operations, but the court was unconvinced. It has directed production of the policy under which such extraordinary allotments were made. Actor politician Vijay scored a legal win this week as the Madras High Court declined to grant an interim injunction against his party, Tamilaga Vetri Karagam or TVK, over its flag. A trust alleged that the TVK flag's yellow-red stripes and motifs infringed its registered trademark and copyright. Justice Senthil Kumar Ramamurthy found that while both flags shared a color scheme, the overall designs were distinct. The plaintiff's flag bore a circle with a fish, tiger, and a bow and arrow, while TVK's showed elephants within an oval. The court ruled there was no substantial copying to support copyright infringement. On trademark claims, it noted that neither party was engaged in trade or commerce, weakening the case under the Trademark Act. Senior advocate Vijay Narayan for TVK argued that trademarks apply to goods or services, not political symbolism. The court agreed that color schemes alone cannot be monopolized and emphasized that the plaintiff had shown no loss or deception. On passing off, it found no evidence of goodwill damage. The application was therefore dismissed, with the matter adjourned to September. Meanwhile, Vijay continues to project TVK as Tamil Nadu's main opposition force ahead of the 2026 assembly elections, openly ruling out alliances with both BJP and DMK as per reports. The Delhi High Court this week ruled that Yatra, a Hindi word for travel, is too generic to be monopolized as a trademark. Justice Tejas Karia dismissed travel portal Yatra Online's plea to block Mark Conference's use of Book My Yatra and bookmyyatra.com, saying descriptive words cannot acquire exclusivity unless they gain distinct secondary meaning. Yatra argued that its long-standing use of Yatra and Yatra.com entitled it to protection, but the court held otherwise. It explained that generic terms describing services like travel cannot be claimed by one company alone. For secondary meaning, the word's primary sense must be lost, something Yatra failed to establish. The court noted that the plaintiff had not sought or secured well-known mark status for Yatra, nor proven that consumers associate the word exclusively with it. It added that .com is also descriptive and thus Yatra.com cannot qualify for protection either. And that brings us to the end of this week's edition of Courts This Week. I'm your host Ostika Das, and it's been a privilege to walk you through the most important legal developments shaping our courts and our country. For deeper insights and detailed coverage, don't forget to visit LiveLaw's website at www.livelaw.in. And of course, if you found this roundup useful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay tuned to LiveLaw. Thank you for watching, and see you again next week.